Welcome back to parts 3 and 4 for stoichiometry. Notes, stoichiometry parts 3 and 4. We are going to see a very similar set of steps. We're going to do mass to mole this time. So let's go through some examples of those. All right, so we have an equation we're going to balance, new equation to try for this. So we're going to take a moment to balance this. I see 1C and 1C, that's good. 4 H's, now I have 4 H's. It's very important that you balance a chemical equation before using it and it's balanced correctly. Otherwise, your answers will be wrong. Okay, or possibly wrong, sometimes lucky. So we have 4 oxygens. We're going to put a 2 here. So this is balanced as a 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, we're going to get rid of that there. Okay, I want to go through this with you. So this is the balanced equation. I brought it over. Just like before, we're going to just really kind of ignore everything and just look for that number, that unit, and the formula. Now, you won't know methane is CH4, but the stuff I give you for practice without me, you'll know what's what. It'll tell you directly. It'll just give you the chemical formula. So like before, we're going to start, or similar to before, we're going to start with our given. Okay, so a number, unit, and a formula. Again, number, unit, and formula must be present to do anything. Now, we can only get rid of grams by using the periodic table. So what I've taught you so far with stoichiometry is the only way to get rid of grams is use the periodic table. So we're going to do CH4 here, and we're going to calculate. We're going to take 12.01 plus 404, right? So what I did is 4 hydrogens plus a carbon, and we're going to get 16. That seemed wrong. Let me just double check that one. I think I did okay, but let's just make sure. It's been a while since I had this problem. Okay, 1605. So 16.05. Why grams down here? Because I had grams up here. Okay, so that's equal to 1 mole of CH4. So grams of CH4 canceled. Now I have moles of CH4 on top. Now I have moles on top. We know what to do. One of these days I need to come up with a mole shuffle dance. In your quarantine, have fun trying to come up with a dance for me. Maybe it should be a TikTok. Okay, I should stop. All right, so anyway, moles are on top, so our next grid is to mole shuffle. So we're going to do moles of CH4, and where we're going goes on top. Every time we mole shuffle, it's moles of where we're at on the bottom, so it cancels. Moles of where we're going goes on top. Where are we going chemically? We're going to water. So you're going to have to look for that question word. So mole shuffle, these numbers must come from the periodic table. So I have 1 mole here. What is what is in front of CH4, and 2 moles is in front what's in front of water. So now moles of CH4 canceled, and I have left moles of H2O, and I needed moles, I needed water, so I know I'm done. I do want to back up for a moment and give you a word of warning. I did not do this in part 2 notes, but I should have. I want to remind you that when you do grams, the periodic table number, your flip box, whether it be on top or below, when you have grams from the periodic table, the opposite box must be 1 mole. If it's not, it's incorrect. It has to be grams per 1 mole because that's what's equal. Okay, so we're going to take 600.0 times 2 divided by 16.05, and we get, with sig figs, we can have 74.77 moles of water. Multiply the numbers across the top, hit equals, divided by 1605. Okay, let's try number 7. We have 8.00 grams of what? CO2. Got to have grams of CO2 here to cancel. How do I get grams? Periodic table. So we're going to take 4. Let's try 12.01 plus 32 is 4401. Periodic table. Remember, periodic table number, grams, the opposite box is always 1 mole of the same stuff if I'm using the periodic table number. So now grams of CO2 cancel. I have moles on top, so I'm going to mole shuffle. So I'm going to have moles of CO2 here. Where we're going goes on top. I'm going to moles of oxygen, so I'm going to put moles of O2. I'm going to oxygen, really is what we should think about. So my CO2 number is 1, and my O2 number is 2. The number in front of CO2 is 1. The number in front of O2 is 2. So moles of CO2 cancel, leaving me left moles of O2. I have moles of NO2, and I'm done. That's how I know when to stop. Because when we mix these all up for your practice and assessment, your practice 4 and your practice 5, pardon me, in your assessment, it's going to be difficult to know where to stop unless you're looking at what I'm asking you to solve for. So always look back to see what you're solving for. So 8.0 times 2 divided by 44.01 gets us our answer of 3 with rounding to this one right here. Okay. Okay, so you're going to try one of these, one or two of these. You will need that same balanced equation that we looked at back in the first set of notes. Let me flip back just to show you. So if need be, pause the video again and write this down again if you still don't have it handy. Once you've got that written down, you can unpause, and I will have then ready to go the next piece. Okay, so this is the part 3 of the notes where you're going to pick one or two of these to try to make sure you're understanding this concept. All right, pause as needed. I'm going back to start the last part of the notes. Okay, so last kind of conversion I would give you is mass to mass. That's going to be the longest grid. So we have a balanced equation to work with. So we have 2 hydrogens and 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen and 2. So I'm going to put a 2 here. Always have to have a correct balanced equation before proceeding. So I have 2 oxygens but 4 hydrogens. I'm going to put a 2 here. Now I have 4 hydrogens and 4 hydrogens, 2 oxygens, and 2 oxygens. Okay, let's do an example. Okay, brought that balanced equation over just like before. We're going to start with what we're given. 78.0 grams of H2. Now be careful, this is not really with that, right? It's just part of the sentence. We're looking for a number, a unit, and a formula that are together as you read the sentence. Okay, so we have to have grams of H2 here. Why? So it cancels. And I know periodic table number is the only thing that can go with grams. So 202, because of 2 hydrogens, we know that if it's a periodic table number, we have to have 1 mole, always 1 mole opposite the periodic table number of H2. So grams of H2 cancel, and I have moles on top. Now I can mole shuffle. I know I'm going to have moles of H2 here. Where I'm going goes on top. Chemically, I'm going to water. So moles of H2O will go on top. So I have 2 moles of H2 here and 2 moles of H2O. Where do I get those numbers? From my balanced equation. Remember that where I'm going goes on top. We were going to water. Why did I mole shuffle in this step? Because I ended up with moles on top here. Once I got moles on top, my next step is always to mole shuffle. So moles of H2 had canceled. We have moles of H2O. So we have water, but we don't have this yet. So we have to do another step. So what can we do to get to grams of water? Well, if you know anything about what we've done, you know you can get grams of anything from the periodic table if you know what that something is. We have to have moles of H2O here so it cancels, right? Because we need moles of H2. We know for every 1 mole of water, always 1 opposite your periodic table number, there are 18.02 grams of water. So that would be 2 hydrogens plus an oxygen. Okay, so we're going to cancel units here. Gave away a little bit that we were done. You won't know that necessarily, but you will see if you cross off your units that moles of H2 cancel with moles of H2. Remember that now our units and our chemical formula must be exact to cancel. So we have moles of H2O and moles of H2O, leaving us grams of H2O. Moles of H2O and moles of H2O had canceled, leaving us grams of H2O not canceled, which is exactly what we needed in our word problem. So we can do the math. So we're going to take 78.0 times 2 times 18.02 equals, now this is where you have to be careful with your calculator. You're going to need to put those bottom numbers in a set of parentheses or divide them each separately. So then I just multiply those numbers across the top, and I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to divide by 2.02, hit equals, divide by 2. I don't like to use parentheses, so you will hear me present it in that way. So this is going to be 696 grams of H2O. Again, multiplied, 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 hit equals, divided by this number, hit equals, divided by 2, and hit equals. You also can put this in a set of parentheses, hit divide, and then put that in a set of parentheses as it's multiplied there. So check and make sure you can use your calculator to get 696. A second example, we're going to do this for number 10. So 34.39 grams of H2O. Now I got to get grams of H2O gone, so I know grams of H2O equals always 1 mole of H2O, because I'm going to use the periodic table number. Periodic table number, 18.02 grams of H2O. So grams of H2O cancel. I have moles of H2O. Better, I have moles on top, so now I can mole shuffle. and where I'm going goes on top, where I'm going chemically to oxygen. So moles of O2 will be on top. And I know from my balanced equation, 2 moles of H2O equals 1 mole of O2. So now moles of H2O cancel. Are we done? Let's see. We have moles of O2. We have O2, but I need grams, so I'm not done. And again, this will be a little more difficult when they're all mixed. That's why it's really important to think through and hear how I'm processing through this with you. So I have the right chemical, but not the right unit, so I have to keep going. I know that I have to have moles of O2 here. And if you notice on all these examples, I write my unit first, and then I fill in my numbers. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do it that way. So this is going to be 1 mole of O2 for 32.00 grams of O2, because oxygen twice. 1 mole always per gram of something. So now moles of H2O, let me try that again. Moles of O2 cancel with moles of O2. Pardon me, leaving me grams of O2, and that's what I need. Yep, and I check and check. So now I'm going to do the math. So I'm going to do 34.39 times 32, hit equals, divide by 18.02, hit equals, divide by 2. Again, you can put stuff in parentheses if you want. I just don't find it easy to do. I find it easier just to hit divide equals divide. Okay, so that's the answer. I'm going to flip to the other set of notes or screen so you can check a few of these. Now there are a lot more here, but pick at least 1 or 2 to try. Answers again are at the end. Make sure you're showing numbers, units, and chemical formulas, as you will be responsible for that in your assessment. Please do not hesitate, as before, to reach out when confused or just need some extra help. Miss you all. Talk to you soon.